A perpendicular line means there's one line and then there's another line that cuts through this line at 90 degrees, means exactly cut through like that, straight. Every time you look at a perpendicular line, it will cut through the other line at 90 degrees. So this is also 90, this is also 90, this is also 90. So if you look at question number 1, a line perpendicular to y equals to x plus 5, x over 5 plus 3 passes through 1, 3. So this one we assume is 1, 3. This point where it cuts through is 1, 3. So this 1, 3 will be here. This is the point 1, 3. Okay. So this point right here, I'm going to color it, is 1, 3. And then this is equation of this line. Okay, this green color one is equation of this line. So what we need to do is we need to use the formula. Okay, this line is this one. This line is y is equals to x over 5 plus 3. When we are doing perpendicular line, this 3 doesn't really matter. We're only looking at this. So if we look at this, the gradient for this line is 1 over 5. Gradient is equals to 1 over 5. Gradient is m. If you don't remember, m is equals to 1 over 5 because 1 over 5 times x is x over 5. So if the gradient for one of the line is 1 over 5, we need to find the gradient of the other line first. Step 1, find the gradient of the other line. So perpendicular line formula is like that. One gradient, the first gradient multiplied by the second gradient is equals to -1. Always, all the time, this formula is true. Okay, so you must remember this formula when you're dealing with perpendicular lines. First gradient times the second gradient equals to -1. So we have first gradient, we don't have second gradient, but we have this formula. So we can find the second gradient. First gradient times second gradient equals to -1. So now we're looking for the second gradient. So second gradient is equals to -1 divided by 1 over 5. So -1 divided by a fraction, the fraction need to flip so that we can times. So m2 is equals to -1 times 5 over 1, because with the terbalik. Then second gradient is equals to -5. So when we have the second gradient already, means this line here, this red color line, is equals to y is equals to -5x plus c. You don't have c. Now we need to look for equation of a line. We need to look for all of it. Y is equals to gradient x plus c. C, we need to use this point because it passes through this point. So this point I can put inside here. So I'm going to put this point inside here. X equals to 1, y equals to 3. So I can find, substitute the point 1, 3 into y is equals to -5x plus c. Because we're looking for c here. So y is equals to 3 equals to -5 times 1 plus c. So if we solve this, then we can find c. So we're going to solve this. 3 equals to -5 plus c. C is equals to 3 plus 5. C is equals to 8. So now we got c already. Then we're going to rewrite this equation. So the equation here is equals to y is equals to -5x plus 8. If this is negative, then it's minus. Since this is positive, then it's plus. So for the question number 2, you need to find out the first gradient first. In order to find gradient, gradient is always equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here you have two coordinates. You need to make sure which is number 1, which is number 2. So here I'm going to say A is number 1, B is number 2. So I'm going to use 12 minus 0 over 0 minus 6. 12 minus 0. I'll put it in bracket. That's easier to see. Okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when we do this, then we can find out it's actually equals to 12 over -6. then we can say that the gradient is equals to -2. So this is our first gradient. We only get one gradient, and then we need to find the other gradient here. So they ask you to show that. Show that means that this gradient, if they are perpendicular, multiplied by this gradient is equals to -1. So later for A, you try to find what's the gradient here doing this same method, then you take the number multiplied by -2. If you get your answer is -1, then this is perpendicular. If it is not -1, then they are not perpendicular.